And I said, right, here's the money, here's the key to that Corsa. Let's go.
Now I gotta ride or die.
Now, I've acquired a lot of cheap cars in my time. Thankfully, I've been able to, you know, not necessarily be in the trade, but know traders. So when a, you know, less than nice car comes in and I've sort of seen it and I've thought, you know, I'll have a go on that, mate. How much is it? I've usually pulled the trigger and just said, you know, I'll have it for a couple of months. I'll enjoy it, see what the deal is, maybe swap it, maybe sell it, maybe scrap it. It doesn't matter. But at that price point, you know, when you're talking sub £500 cars, sometimes the idea of a throwaway car makes it a little bit more fun. Not that you're going to go do bad things in it or anything, but it does make it a bit more appealing sometimes that you can go and enjoy these cars a little bit more. 180,000 miles on an Audi A4 manual B5 Estate was actually the most genuinely nice high mileage car I've ever bought. Blue, cloth interior, manual box, 180k, 189k if I remember correctly. Full service history, but it has absolutely no need or want to be on a dealership forecourt. And thankfully, it got offered to me for trade-in price, which was £300. And I said, do you know what? I could do with a little daily driver. And this is, you know, say we're 10, 11 years ago now. I said, yeah, I'll have it. That's, you know, that's a lovely little car for the money, really. You know, it had roof rails. It was just a good daily driver you could beat on. It had good mileage on it. It had good service history. It was actually a genuinely nice car. I thought, you know what? I pulled the trigger. And, you know, if I put it up for swaps, you know, I'm not here to make money, but I might get a nice car out of it. We don't know. But I drove that around for a couple of months. Thought it was cool. You know, it was doing good MPG. Manual box was nice. Clutch was right. Brakes were good. Had a good bit of MOT on it. I sort of said, I like this, but it's not giving me the fizz. I want something that gives me the fizz, like something a little bit weird. And I've always swapped and changed my cars. So I thought, you know, here we go. We'll put it up for swaps. It's no value to it. You know, it owes me 300-400 quid at this point. You know, done a couple of bits to it. And still got good MOT on it. I'll put it up for swaps. A guy comes to me and says, listen, I'm after a good daily driver, you know, estate car. I want something that is going to be able to do the mileage I want to do on it. I think your car is it. I said, perfect, that was easy. 2 days after I listed it. He said, but I do have a weird swap. It's an MG ZT, and I sort of had to pause and think what that was at the time. He didn't send me any pictures, so I jumped on Google and noticed that, you know, it was a Rover 75, but like a nice one. It was like a really nice body kitted, half leather with Alcantara interior. And I sort of said, okay, can you send me like specs and pictures and stuff? He sent us pictures over and I was just gobsmacked at how lovely this thing was. Bearing in mind, this is, again, 10 years ago. This is probably a 10-year-old car at this point. You know, it was a mid-2000s MG. It wasn't, you know, high mileage or anything. It was actually all right mileage, you know, 50, 60,000 miles. I said, do you know what? I'll come and meet you. I want to have a look at the car. You have a look at mine. We'll see what the deal is. Thinking that, yeah, he's going to want some money on top. I don't really want to give any money over because I don't really want it to owe me anything. It's never a car I've wanted. So I thought, you know, I'll go anyway and entertain this. It was, you know, local to me. So I thought, you know, let's go and have a look. We get there and this lovely MG ZT rolls up. And I just thought, there is no way this deal's going to happen. That is too nice. This is nice, but that's a lot nicer than this is. He says, oh, yeah, that's good. You know, put the dogs in the back, get the kids in the back, you know, all this. Good MPG, yet fantastic. Oh, mine's a 2.5 litre. It does a bit of fuel. And I was like, that's, you know, how it is. You know, buy these cars with that intention. You never look at the fuel gauge, haha. I started talking to him backwards and forwards. He's like, listen, mate, I haven't got any money to put on top. And I've gone, put any money on top? He was sat there bargaining with me to do a deal, straight swap. And I just thought, yeah, mate, like, you know, I believe, yes, my car is high mileage, but it's got stacks of service history. It is a genuinely lovely car. Yours is a lower mileage, less desirable car, but it is still good for the money. I'll do a deal with you. I'll do a straight swap. We'll call it quits. I'm happy, you're happy. He's like, oh, mate, thank you so much. Hold up my hand. Perfect. Not once did I bend his arm to say, oh, come on, mate, it's, you know, it's not this and it's not that and it's blah, blah. He came with the full intention of swapping that car for that car. And I jumped in the MG and genuinely enjoyed about a month's worth of driving. It was weird. It felt like you were in a different car because of, like, you know, some exotic materials, leather, suede, the sound of the engine. It just sounded very different to anything I'd, you know, owned in the past. But it just, again, did not tick the fizz box at all. So I thought, are we really doing this again? The V5's only just got here, and I'm going to say, do you know what? I took this in part exchange. I'm going to hold my hands up and say it's just not for me. I would like a hot hatch because, you know, we're here to enjoy our lives. I want to, you know, cycle through cars. I've had my MG experience. Nothing catastrophic has gone wrong, but I hold my hands up and say it's not for me. Is there anything else out there? Let's put it up for swaps and see what comes out. So it goes up. Week goes past. Another week goes past. Am I going to be stuck with this car? I start thinking, yeah, we're going to be stuck with this car because this was, although, you know, at this point, I'm probably about £700-800 into this car after, you know, just replacing the little bits that I think's right. I want to still drive it with, you know, the intention of it being a good car. I'd have money in the Audi that I'd spent on it, you know, insurance, if you want to count that, you know, just swapping it over. I said, you know what? I'll put a price on it. £2,200. £2,200. Why not? So I put a price on it. Or swaps. Guy comes to me a week after it goes. It's about, you know, I've had the car for about 2 months at this point. We're 3 weeks into the sale of the car. And the guy comes to me and he says, listen, mate, I want a bigger car for my family. I've got a 2-door. I'm not really that interested in it anymore. I want a bigger car for my family. I want something that's, you know, your car, basically. I said, okay, come and buy it. He said, I can't really buy it at the moment. I've got to sell my car. I said, well, what car have you got? Because, I mean, I will take a cheaper part exchange. He said, I've got a blue Ford Focus ST170, 60,000 miles, pretty mint condition, Mongoose exhaust system, whatever was on it at the time. I've just had it serviced. That's what I'm trying to sell. I said, right, not really the hot hatch I was after because for me and a lot of other people out there, maybe the 170 never really ticked my personal box. After driving one, doesn't really tick my box either. After owning one, still doesn't tick my box, but I thought, you know what, it'll help with the sale, let's do a deal. So, I get the ST170, the MG goes, a deal has been done. I, again, do the same thing. I drive this around for about 2-3 weeks, you know, just enjoying it. Month goes by, another month goes by, and I start to think, oh, this is just not for me. I've owned hot hatches, I've owned hot German stuff in the past. This doesn't tick that box, which is what I was really after. So we're, you know, 6 months down the line at this point of, you know, swapping a couple of cars, not really making any money because no money's really been exchanged in theory at this point. So I just thought, do you know what? Here we are again. Let's put up swaps. So I said, for a really cheap car, cash my way, really cheap car. I could have something to drive still while I sort of work out what I can actually buy with my money and how much money I could get out of this ST170. Still bearing in mind, I'm not a trader. I don't trade, you know, on forecourts or anything like that. I just like cars and I want to enjoy every single aspect of car ownership. And if that is, you know, trying something out because it's there, yes, I will do it and then move it on. Hopefully to something more desirable, in my opinion, and something more to my taste. A couple of days goes by. I put it up for about £2.5 grand because that's what they were sort of worth at the time. I sort of said to myself, right, you know, cheap Part X, 500 quid, £1,000, and cash on top. You know, put it out there. Guy comes to me. I've got a little Corsa, relatively good mileage. It's got a couple of scratches on it. I've been daily driving it, but I'd love an ST170 again. Used to have one in blue, 2-door, good mileage. This is that car. Will you do a deal on the Corsa? And I was like, I'd had a Corsa as my first car, so I was like, I'd probably have it because I quite like them. What's the deal? And he said, I've got £2,000 cash and my Corsa for that ST170. I said, come and get it. Come and get it. Because then I'm out. I've got my money out of it. I haven't necessarily made any money at this point because the subsequent change of insurance, running these cars, fixing a few bits on each one, like a tyre here and there. No, you don't really notice how much you're spending until you notice how much you're spending, especially on cars that sort of need bits and bobs. Maybe people are trying to pull out because, you know, they need to spend money on the cars. So guy comes around, happy as Larry, falls in love with the car. I'm happy with his, you know, part exchange in a sense. And that's all it was. It was part exchange. I just wanted to use it as collateral to, you know, get that gone, something for me to drive and enjoy at the time. Still get to work, various bits and bobs. So we're 6 months in now. We're 6 months into basically swapping as many cars as possible, not really knowing where I was going with it. I now have sat there £2,000, and I have a Vauxhall Corsa, which I don't mind. I had one as a, you know, it's a first car. And I said to myself, right, if we're going to buy anything now, it needs to be something off the list of cars I've always wanted. And top of the list was a Toyota Aristo, a car that, to me, still to this day, is one of the best unsung heroes of the Japanese car scene. The 2JZ twin-turbo lump that came in them from the factory, from, of course, the Mark IV Supra. Automatic gearbox, because I'm super lazy. Big GS-style body. It was just a cool car. Wing on the back. And I was like, do you know what? They're about $3,000 at this point, and bearing in mind that they're £10,000 for an okay one now, 15 for a very nice one. You look back and think £3,000's about, yeah, I really should have just gone and got a loan and bought all of them. But I said to myself, right, if I could get rid of this Corsa and put a bit of cash on top, I could probably get one of these Toyota Aristos. I have had Lexus GS300s. I've had a couple of them. This is the migration. This is going to be the one. Stuff the German fast car idea. This is going to be the one. Twin turbo, 3 litre, 2JZ. It's going to be a rocket. It's going to be crazy. So I start looking. I start, you know, pestering people like, hello, mate, I've got this much out of Corsa. Hello, mate, I've got this much out of Corsa. And a couple of people come back like, nah, not interested in the Corsa. Nah, you haven't got enough money, blah, blah, blah. One guy comes back. He said, listen, mate, the rear arches are slightly rusty on this car. I might have got a pole, got some too wider wheels and rolled the arches with said wheel, and it's not gone very well. So the arch is going to need, you know, something doing at some point. Not yet, but, you know, it's coming, rusty and all that. I said, okay, but would you take this amount of money and this car? I will drive it to you. We will do the deal. I will drive the Aristo away. He's like, yeah, I mean, I need a nice daily for a minute. Something that's, you know, again, good collateral for the next car. Come up, we'll do a deal. So we drive there in the Corsa. Little 1 litre or 1.2 litre Corsa, like this. And I remember pulling up to make his driveway and I saw the back of it and I was like, there it is. It says V300 on it. And I was just like, there it is. Oh my God, I can't believe it. Right, let's go in here and try and do a deal. Looking around the car, yeah, it had a bit of paint here and there. It had rusty arches on the back of it. But in all fairness, it was a together car. It had some money spent on it, coilovers, wheels, lovely number plate, V300 VEX. It was the pinnacle of what I could afford at the time, in my opinion. It was the best car I could afford. And I said, right, here's the money, here's the key to that Corsa. Let's go. Done a deal. He's happy. He's got the Corsa as a little daily driver. I drive away in this Aristo, bearing in mind that these cars still were not what they are now. They were unheard of. People had never heard of them. People didn't really like them. People didn't understand them. People like Supras. I like a Lexus, Toyota branded stuff like that. Big four-door things. What you got to remember is, from that era, the Supra coming out, they literally just planted that 2J into that body. And it is just the best merriment for me ever. You got a big luxury car with that fantastic engine up front. It just doesn't get any better than that, in my opinion. That's why I'd still class it as the 4-door Supra. That's how I sort of, over, I would say, a 9-month period stretched, I went from sort of a £300 Audi Estate, very, very good car, all the way through to my ultimate dream car. Although I'd owned my dream car, loosely use that all the time, but this was up there. It was honestly up there with one of the best cars I've ever owned. And unfortunately, if you don't know the story, it went on, it was done up, it then got sold. I think it was sold for around £6,000 at the time. This is a few years ago now. I think it went to Norway, or Switzerland, Germany, somewhere like that, you know, Europe that way. And it was split down. And I think it died. It died in a scrapyard somewhere. So I'm never going to be able to get that car again. That is the one that fully got away. Thankfully, I've been able to buy cars back that I owned at the time. But yeah, that's the one that got away. And I regret it big time.
Ride or die.